Hi everyone, welcome to the 2021 Player Benchmark Report webinar. My name is Samantha Pang and I'm the VP of Customer Success at Helpshift. With me today is Eric Ashby. Eric, would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Yep, I'm Eric Ashby, head of product at Helpshift, and today we'll be talking about the findings that we found as we looked back over the past year from the gaming companies.
Thanks, Eric. And here's the agenda that we'll be covering today in this webinar: the impact of COVID on the gaming industry over the last 12 months during the COVID pandemic, top player issues and categories with Helpshift's data, the modern support journey, and we'll walk you through that in detail, key learnings and takeaways that we'd like to end the webinar with, and then we'll get into Q&A and answer all of your questions. All right, let's get started. Eric, please take us away.
Oh, not a problem. So, yeah, I wanted to just kick off with some interesting findings that we had, that we saw during COVID. So if you remember the timelines of COVID of last year, around February, March, April is when the world really shut down. And so what was really interesting was that we saw a huge spike in the gaming issues that happened during that time. But it wasn't just the gaming issues. It actually, the fact was that more people were playing games. You know, the kids are at home, they're no longer at school, the parents are all at home. Of course, it's just going to be, natural that they're like, here, start playing games. And so we saw that spike. Brands had to deal with that. And they had their own challenges, because they had, prior to this, the customer service representatives would be in like a support center, but they had to go home and go remote. And so brands were dealing with that. And so what we saw is, in response to the high increase in gaming issues, brands started to also increase their automation in quite a bit. So you can see that, at the beginning of COVID, things were, automation was around 55-ish, but then it started to rise to, as brands were responding to the increase in volume, up to where it is today, even after, things have relaxed a little bit, to, between 78 to 80% of their issues are now being automated. And this is across the board. So it was really interesting to see how the pandemic impacted with the spike in support tickets, followed by an increase in the AI and automation. So that was probably one of the biggest findings that we had out of this. Now, of course, this was around a set of different topics, and I think Sam's going to talk about kind of what were the different topics that we saw.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do remember a lot of our customers kind of reaching out and asking how they can get it set up with bots because of the huge backlog they were seeing, because they were trying to ship equipment to their remote agents. Some of the agents were already remote in some of our gaming customers, and they definitely had a much easier time transitioning into remote work during the pandemic. So let's talk about how our gaming customers went about automating their issues. So here you can see this list of problem types that are very common across gaming. And the experience with Helpshift really starts with why players are reaching out for help. And this can be achieved through our AI-driven feature called Smart Intents. The data here shows the top player issues reported across our gaming customers, and it's broken down into two levels. We call it level 1 intents and level 2 intents, which are the subcategories of the level 1. These intents should look quite familiar to our gaming audience, and also very familiar across the different types of games. So using their own data, our customers can leverage Smart Intents to prioritize what they want to automate, what the experience should look like for the different type of players, and how they want to go about doing that with a combination of their bots. For example, if you want to expedite resolution of the rewards and purchase related issues, which you can see here, it makes up about 24% of the total issue volume that we saw, you can set up bots to collect the necessary information and route to an agent for verification and resolution. Alternatively, you can also fully automate that by setting up bots with APIs, which can connect to your backend systems. So customers that are automating or continue to increase their automation are definitely leveraging what we call a modern support journey, while at the same time improving the experience for their players. So next, I'd like Eric to tell us a little bit more about our modern support journey, as well as show how customers can implement it if they want to start down this journey.
Yeah, the idea of the modern support journey really is, and we really just saw this being more used last year, but the idea is you want to guide the customer through an optimized support path. You know, when the customer comes in for support, if they just randomly pick a path, they may not pick the easiest or most efficient journey for them. And that's what the modern support journey is. And what the modern support journey, first and foremost, it starts in app. That's where they're playing the game, and that's where they want to get support. And in fact, I would just want to pause this a little bit and talk about in-app support. Year after year, we do this survey of where do players prefer to have their support. And we always find the same thing. It's always in-app. In-app messaging continues to be the preferred channel for players. You can see here when we look at CSAT with iOS and Android, that's our in-app solution. It's considerably higher than the traditional web places. Email has always been low. And what's interesting, over the past couple of years, web chat has actually dropped a little bit. People are kind of getting tired of the web experience. It really is the in-app experience that players prefer. And so that's where the journey starts. The journey starts in the app. That's where the player is, and they should just be able to quickly and easily go hit a support button and start their support journey. Most often, if players can find an FAQ and get back to playing, they'll prefer that. Most brands see around 85 to 90% of all queries are handled directly from in-app from searches in the Help Center. From there, the player may want to continue and get additional help, so they would typically start a support conversation. And as Sam was pointing out, that conversation really needs to start with understanding what is the intent. Why are they there? You know, are they having a problem with the reward, or are they having a problem with gameplay, or with a purchase, or things like that? And so that's what Smart Intents does. It comes in and understands what is the reason that the player's there, and then that kind of dictates the rest of the journey for them. Once you understand the intent, then you can give them some instant recommendations. This is just a really quick way. If there's a FAQ that can solve their problem, show the FAQ to them. Or if it's more complicated, they would then get involved with bots that would handle the conversation, and only for the most difficult or most important players would you actually have an agent get involved. And this is why you saw such a high percentage of automation, is because brands were putting all of these steps in that allowed for that automation to happen beforehand. And so I know this is a little bit abstract, so I'm going to actually walk you through kind of what this journey looks like from a player's perspective. So let me bring up a game. So here is a game. This is just a sample game that we've done. We actually recently did this through Unity, which is a partner with Helpshift. We're actually a VSP partner on Unity, which makes it really easy to include Helpshift within a game. So here we have a game. This is a playable game. I can go in and have some things, but I have a couple problems. One of the problems is I want to try and figure out how to connect this to my Facebook account so I can track it, track my progress there, share it with everybody. And then I think I should have gotten my 5-day award, but I didn't get it last night. So I'm wondering what's going on with that. So those are two problems that I have. Well, I'm right here. I have those problems. You can see there's the question mark right here at the bottom, which starts support. Very simple. I just click on that, and I'm now immediately into the support experience. And it's still, even though I'm in a support experience, it still feels like it's part of the game. It's super easy for me to go in. I can browse through some articles. I can search through the articles. In fact, here is an article, how do I connect my game with my Facebook account? And I could just solve the problem simply by doing that. You can see it just took me a couple of seconds to come in here, solve the problem, and then I can just be back and playing right away, which is what you want. You want the players to get back playing the game. But just for the sake of the journey, let's go in and make it a little bit more complicated. Let's say that, you know, I didn't, I still am wondering how to do Facebook, but I didn't really search through these. Instead, I just wanted to be guided and talk through the experience. So here, I'm going to start on the conversation, and I'll start a new conversation, and I'll just type the question. How do I connect my Facebook account? And so you can see that the AI has jumped in and it's figured out that it's social listening. And so what will happen is when I start the conversation, immediately the instant recommendations are going to come back with the known FAQs articles that are there. So it's how do I connect my game to a Facebook account? You can see it's right there. So there's that instant recommendation. You saw how it understood what the intent was. It had the recommendation. And again, very quickly, I could say, yes, that helped. And I can get back to actually playing the game, which is where I want to be. So let's go in a little bit deeper. Let's have the problem where the fact that I spent, I should have gotten my 5-day reward. So I'm going to click on, again, the conversation here, start a new conversation, and I'm going to say, I am missing my prize. Okay. And notice as soon as I said that, it still figured it out. It still figured out that this was related to missing rewards. So again, the AI is coming in already and saying, oh, look, I think you're talking about the missing rewards. I'm like, yeah, I am talking about the missing rewards. So I'll select that. And what's interesting when I do that, the system will automatically then start a bot that knows how to deal with missing rewards. So this is where that intent then starts a very unique experience for me. It's saying, hi to me, let me see if I can help you. Please confirm what reward I was missing. Well, I'm missing my 5-night prize. So I'm going to select that as the option. You can see it's very simple for me to do that. And then the reward bot comes back with a very personalized message. First, it tells me, well, the 5-night prize is for winning 5 games in a row. And it says, you have currently won 4 days in a row. So the bot is able to actually interact with whatever backend system that I have. It's able to find, using my identity, find how many times that I have actually won, and then give me that. And so at this point, I could be like, yeah, you know what? That's I guess I counted wrong. That's okay. But just for the sake of it, I'm going to go on and I'm going to say, look, I think I played more. Like I really, at this point, I want to escalate it. So I think I've actually played more. And so here I'm going to say I think I've played more. And the bot now has the option to send this on to, to an agent. So you can see the bot says, since you're a VIP, I'm a VIP player, I will have an agent come check with your history and confirm that you've received the reward. The agent typically responds within 3 hours. So the agent doesn't have to sit here and respond live chat. Since I'm in app, I could actually leave at any time and come back again, and then have a conversation, which is very common for mobile devices. I'm just going to bring up the agent experience so that you can see what the agent might look like at this time when he gets this. So the agent is sitting here in the console. He sees that there's a purchase missing rewards question that came up. He can see kind of all the things that the bot has collected. And here, maybe he wants to talk back to, to the player. So I'm going to just do a little bit of side by side here. I am an agent, and I looked at your history. I see you lost the last game, but I will reward you anyway. So what happened here is the agent was able to come in and make a human decision saying, look, I know he got 4 out of 5, but that's okay. I'm going to give him the reward anyways. He's a VIP. We want to keep that. So the agent's able to come in here, play the human angle on it, make him really happy, and then resolve the issue. Agent only had to do one message here to get it done, and everybody was happy. And of course, the end user will give this a 5-star experience. He got what he wanted, and he was able to go through a great experience. So that is what you just saw there. What we mean by the modern support journey is this whole journey where you start from the in-app, go through the help center, understand intent, have some instant recommendations, can be guided by a bot, and eventually an agent can get in there. When we measured this, what was really interesting this last year is that we expected automations to go up because that was in response. But what was also was that the human work went down. And you can see dramatically from 40% down to under 20% was what the human work had to do with, with the fully manual issues. So that was one of the things that was really interesting, is how not only did automation go up, but the human went down. The other thing that was interesting was this orange thing here, which was the partially automated, which is that case where a bot then first interacts and then hands over to a human. And so we also saw an increase in the partially automated. And what was interesting about the partially automated is that that's where we saw the highest customer satisfaction, was in the partially automated. Now everything actually increased in satisfaction over the years from 2019 to 2020, but the partially automated was the highest. And Sam, I'll let you talk about this.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, so to kind of add on to what Eric just mentioned, partially automated is when the bot and agent work together to try to fully resolve the issue. And when you think about it, it actually allows for a faster resolution compared to an agent's working alone on an issue, right? So the bot can collect the information for verification, the agent checks things that they need to check, and then they make a decision based on their internal processes. And this allows the player's problem to get resolved faster, and then in turn, they give a higher CSAT, because all they're really trying to do is get their problem resolved. So this experience of a bot and agent working together in the right places on the right issue types for the right players really helped to boost that CSAT. And we saw that from the beginning in 2019, and we're continuing to see that trend carry through to 2020, despite the increase in number of issues and number of customers using automation across their volumes. And then you can see fully manual represents agents working on the issue only. And because the bots are doing the work that agents otherwise would have done on a repetitive basis, now the agents can focus on the harder problems or spending more time with the VIP players and keeping them happy. So that CSAT has maintained high throughout 2020 as well. The last category is that fully automated CSAT. This is when bot is working on an issue alone to get it to a fully resolved state. And when you think about kind of bots only talking to players, most people think that the players don't like talking to a bot. However, over time, we are seeing an improvement there, because our customers are figuring out how the bots should talk to a player without an agent being involved, as well as making sure that the bot is there to try to resolve their issue as quickly as possible. Hence, CSAT for the fully automated category has gone up since 2019. Okay, so here's kind of our key takeaways from this webinar, and I hope that we were able to convey that between Eric and myself. CSAT scores can be improved or maintained high when you have bots and agents working in the right areas of your operation, as I mentioned, across the right issue types, across the right customer segment. And in-app messaging remains, for obvious reasons, that we're able to provide a better experience and keep the CSAT high there as well. So those two kind of go hand in hand with automation. And then the last one is that, Helpshift really provides the best in-app player support experience combined with automation capabilities, and has allowed our gaming customers to scale and leverage automation even faster and efficiently during the COVID pandemic. So this definitely is replicable across other industries, not just gaming, as it all starts with understanding why your customers are contacting you and what they ultimately need help with. Before we get into the Q&A, Eric, is there anything you found surprising or interesting that you'd like to kind of share with our audience before we kind of move into the...
Yeah, there's a couple other sub stories that came out that I thought was really interesting. One of them, and Sam, I know you mentioned this, but it warrants repeating, is that you saw that the CSAT response and the CSAT scores from 2019 and 2020 remained about the same or even higher, even though brands, one, were dealing with about a 50% increase in volume, and two, brands were having to move to a remote workforce. So the fact that they were able to keep the CSAT scores higher during that time really tells you that the industry as a whole became stronger. they became, during this time, they actually got better at doing the work, being able to do it more effectively and more efficiently. And so I found that was really interesting. The other thing that I found was interesting, kind of was a sub story, was how fast that this transition happened. If you had come out and said, okay, as an industry, we need to change the way that we work within 3 months, and across the entire industry, like that's just a huge undertaking to take. And what we saw brands that had zero automation at all when the pandemic started, zero automation. And within the first 3 months, they were 40 to 50% automated, completely changed their how they would deal with customers during that time. And so it was just really interesting to see how, and for me, it was a very positive outcome, how the world really became stronger in some of these things like customer service. And of course, this goes beyond gaming. This goes across the board and other industries and things like that. So some very interesting things that we saw in the data over this past year.
Thanks, Eric. So to conclude, we really love to help you design your modern support journey with us and help you achieve your goals today. If you're interested in having a conversation with us about that, feel free to contact success@helpshift.com. So let's get into the Q&A.
Okay, so our first question is, can you break down the volume by channel? I'm assuming this is referring to the classification table of the issue types. Eric, would you like to provide an answer for that?
Yeah. I think this question was coming in when we were talking about the increase in volume that we saw, during COVID and things like that. And it really was a place where the tide rose across all channels. Email, web chat, in-app, they all rose. Now, predominantly, as we talked about, when we talked about the different channels, we see a lot more in-app because that's what, Helpshift is an in-app solution. And so the majority of our volume, of course, is there. We do support email, but by far the majority is in-app, especially when a customer has been offered both of those options. They typically choose in-app. When we looked at the volume by channel for automation, that one's super simple because email really doesn't support bots and automation. So it really doesn't. So it's just web chat and in-app is where you'll have the automation growth. Email just doesn't offer that just because of the modality of that, unless you switch out of email. So, anyways, that hopefully that answers that. I think we have a couple of other questions, and Sam, I'll shoot this one over to you about what was the impact that partially automated had on AHT.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. So average handle time definitely went down when we started seeing bots and agents work together. However, there's two places we need to measure that. One is the overall average handle time, so bot and agent working together, and the second part of it is then just the agent handle time. So once the bot is done, how long does it take for an agent to actually send their response out? But overall, we did see a reduction in that because the bot is fired immediately. So once the bot is done interacting, collecting the information from the customer, then it gets handed over to an agent, and at that point you just have to be mindful of, is the agent meeting that SLA in actually responding after the bot is done. The third question we have, oh sorry, Eric, did you want to add something?
No, yeah, Sam, I was just going to comment. There was another interesting side effect that we saw in AHT, and I wish we would have done a report on this, and it probably warrants a follow-up, is that we measured brands that had high automation versus brands that don't. And what was interesting, we expected AHT to go down both when you look at the bots plus humans, or when you look at the human aspect after bots. We expected that to go down because presumably the bot is in there helping. But what we saw, which was really interesting, was that the fully manual, the issues that were not touched by bots at all, those actually had a decrease in AHT also. And our hypothesis, our assumption there is that what happens is that the agents are becoming hyper-focused on kind of those cases that are best suited for humans. And so they get really good at handling those, being good at jumping in and taking care of those. So it was interesting to watch AHT actually go down on all three of the categories. So anyways, that was just an interesting side. I know that wasn't the exact question, but that was just kind of an interesting side thing we saw.
Thanks, Eric. That is an interesting point and worth mentioning for sure. The third question we had is, do you also measure customer effort score for automations? Eric, would you like to talk about that one?
Yeah, I'll take that. There's always a question about, do we, what should we be measuring? Should we be measuring CSAT or customer effort score, both, and things like that? And currently we do measure CSAT. That's the primary thing. We also measure success. Did the actual problem get solved? We didn't measure customer effort score as part of this. However, when we looked at, what is the effort of the automations, it really depended on the brands. A lot of brands, what they would do with their automations is their intent was to fully automate the conversation. So they would take the time and the energy to, figure out how best to get this problem solved, versus having it to be escalated to a human. And so those we would expect that to be lower. Other brands would take a triage approach where they would say, okay, we're just going to leverage the bots to triage the problem, and then we'll hand it over to a human. And then you had a third set of brands that would use bots as a deflection approach. The majority of their calls or questions might be coming in from free customers, and then they would just be deflecting the questions back to an FAQ or to a known solution. And so you actually have to break down those three before you really take a look at that. But starting this next, I think in a week from now, we actually are expanding our survey at the end of the engagement to also allow you to do custom queries such as customer effort score and things like that, so that as a brand you can actually measure your bots against your humans. You can measure against customer effort score. You can measure against CSAT, or just a number of different industry trends that are out there. So hopefully that answered that. Did we have any other questions that we wanted to take?
Yeah, there's a couple more. So I've heard from some of our customers that they would refuse to interact with an AI in trying to receive support. Is there any data showing any resistance to receiving assistance from a bot? Eric, do you want me to start and you can add some things from the other side?
Yeah. Okay. So it's interesting.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, so I think the CSAT is really kind of what we look at when we are trying to understand how is the customers receiving, the support driven by the bot. And as you saw, even in the fully automated CSAT from 2019, when our customers really started to kind of test out automation and ramp that up really quickly, we definitely saw that the CSAT had improved since then. So our customers are just getting better and better at using the bots, and it all comes down to, we're just trying to help the player. So at the end of the day, if the player is receiving help, then they would likely be more willing to have a bot interact with them. The second thing I'll add is when our customers start to try out the AI and bots to add to their customer service operations, they tend to start with testing on, the lower value customers and not the VIPs, for example, and kind of work their way up as they're realizing that the bots are really working. They might also test on specific issue types that really are difficult to, say, give responses in terms of like saying no to them, or if an agent is just sending the same macro over and over again, they want to replace that with a bot. And I think over time, customers just really figured out the right places to use the bots, and then the right places to use a bot and an agent combination, and then where they should retain the issue volume handled by an agent, whether it's for the specific premium customers or the specific problem types. Eric, anything to add there?
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with that. It's in the end, when a customer comes in, they want to get support, and there is definitely a problem with kind of like the bots, especially when a bot comes in and tries to act like a human. It's like, hey, I'm going to act like a human. They shouldn't be acting like a human. They should be clear. Look, I'm a bot. I'm here. I can do certain things, and I can help you with those things. And when the customer feels like you're not trying to fool them, you're actually trying to give them a tool that they can use, and that this tool actually is powerful in solving it, they will take that. If I went in and and any customer, if they go in and a bot comes up and says, hey, look, I see you want a refund, and by the way, I actually can refund you any items that you have purchased within the past 3 days. That's great, because I'm like, awesome. Then I just purchased this thing up by accident, or my kid came in and purchased it. Let's get it to be a refund. And so the key really comes down to, one, have bots do what bots can do. Be really clear about that this is a bot. A bot can do this. And two, make the bots useful. Have the bots actually be able to take action, integrate it with some some of the things that it can do, and offload that work from your agents. And when you do that, you're going to find that people are happy with the bots, because they're getting their problem solved. And that's why I think at the very beginning we showed the list of issue types, because when you focus on those issue types, those are the problems people have. They have, like, look, I should have got this reward. Well, okay, a bot can help you with that. If a bot can't, then don't, then get it to a human agent as soon as possible. And then the customers are going to be happy with that. It's when you're like, hey, I'm going to try to be this magic human, that's when people get frustrated.
Great, thanks, Eric. And then last one, then I think we have answered all the questions. Eric mentioned an example of a brand that went from 0% automation to 50% in 3 months. What type of internal resources, like engineering, developers, did that require to make that happen? Eric, would you like to talk about the SDK?
Yeah. I mean, most of these brands, of course, again, it all starts with the in-app. So they had to have the SDK deployed, which is a pretty simple thing to do. So that would take, I don't know, maybe a day if they get it integrated and tested and whatever. But once they had it in deployed, then it was really a matter of focusing on what were the top cases. And so we would work with them to survey their existing volume, and then we would figure out, okay, look, this is, a good 10% happens to be a reward, or another 10% has to be account, or things like this. And they would just start at the top and just be like, okay, great, what can we do about rewards? Let's create a little workflow for that. What can we do about account? Let's create a workflow for that. And it'd take a couple of days to do that, as they kind of worked out the workflow. But you can see within a week or so, they've already got 10-15%, and then they would start just iterating on that. Okay, how do we increase that more? And then go up to 20%, and then 25%, and then 30%, and then it's really easy to within we said 3 months 50%. We're actually seeing more than that, but it's really actually pretty easy to do that, provided you just take this methodology. The other thing is that some of the cases did require that you do some sort of action. Our bots have an integration API that could integrate into their back-end services, and so at that point there might be some development effort there, but most of it was really just kind of out of the box, creating the workflows. So so that should answer like how it got done.
Yes, thanks, Eric. So I think that answers all the questions we had from the audience. Unless there are any others, I think we will end it here. It doesn't look like there's anything else. So thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to connecting with you more on this topic. You'll be receiving a follow-up email with more information about this webinar and the information that we discussed. So we look forward to seeing you again.